Get started. Thanks.
Great, thank you for coming out today. We're here to talk about some extremely serious allegations of sexual misconduct that have taken place by Oakland police officers. And we just want to say how much we value and respect the public's right to know what is going on with this investigation, as well as how our officers conduct themselves both on and off duty. We as Oaklanders can expect to hold officers to the highest standards of conduct, again, both while they wear the uniform and while they do not. And that is a standard that we intend to enforce here at the City of Oakland. It's also important that the public have trust in our process of investigating these allegations. And that's why we're here to provide additional information and make sure that people feel confident in the process that we are undertaking to ensure that the investigation is thorough and fair. Currently, there are 3 Oakland police officers who have been placed on administrative leave due to this investigation, and the investigation is ongoing. Additionally, as of today, the Alameda County District Attorney is conducting a parallel and independent investigation. The District Attorney is also reviewing the investigatory process that has been involved in all of the various criminal allegations. To ensure that this investigation and review is unbiased and it has the full trust of the public, we also have ensured that the investigatory team does not contain any personnel who have ever been employed by the Oakland Police Department. Going forward, we are committed to putting additional safeguards in place to avoid any questions about the standards with which we hold our employees to in the Oakland Police Department, as well as the thoroughness and integrity of any investigations concerning these types of allegations. Today, I issued an executive directive that will require, going forward, without discretion, the Oakland Police Department to notify the appropriate district attorney whenever there is reasonable suspicion of any criminal conduct, either on or off duty, by any employee of the Oakland Police Department. There are additional safeguards that the chief is putting in place, and at this time I will turn this over to him to share some additional steps that we are taking to ensure that systems are in place to ensure that the character of the officers that the public comes to trust as being the guardians of our community are of the highest character at all times.
Good evening. Let me start by saying that the allegations in this case are extremely troubling. But one of the things that I have done, I have tasked the Office of Inspector General in the Police Department with doing a review of off-duty arrest cases or off-duty misconduct cases over the last several years. One of the things we've seen over the last several months is an unfortunate series of incidents of off-duty misconduct for our police officers. And so what we want to look at, what I've tasked the Inspector General to do, and also they're going to be reaching out to the city auditor who's here to see if they will jointly work on this audit. But we want to look at cases of off-duty misconduct over the last several years to look for common patterns that may come out as potentially related to our early warning system or a lack of effectiveness of our early warning system, or potentially common factors in the backgrounds of employees involved in these type of incidents, to see what we can learn from that and how that could influence adjustments to our early warning system or perhaps adjustments to our hiring process. But ultimately, we want to ensure that all of our employees are of the highest moral character and conduct themselves professionally, not only on duty, but when they're off duty as well. In regard to, there's been media attention in regard to a pair of suicides that were investigated by the Oakland Police Department, the first one being in June of 2014. When I was informed of this incident in June of 2014 where Ms. Lopez was allegedly committed suicide, and she was married to one of our police officers. I remember at the time being very, very concerned about the incident and having some skepticism as to what actually occurred. And at the time, I gave direction to our Criminal Investigations Division to ensure that we very thoroughly vetted what occurred that evening to ensure that if it was in fact a suicide or potentially could have been a homicide. To that end, our Criminal Investigations Division assigned their most senior homicide investigators to the case, and I am confident that they did in fact conduct a thorough investigation into that matter. There was gunshot residue found on the victim's hands. There was the issue of the fact that 2 rounds were fired during the course of this suicide. We've seen in multiple cases that's not uncommon for suicides to have more than 1 round fired by the person that committed suicide. And then additionally, there was additional forensic evidence which supported the fact that it was a homicide, or sorry, excuse me, supported the fact that it was a suicide. But I do actually welcome the review by the District Attorney's Office into that case. I think that we would certainly like them to take a look and see if there's anything we potentially missed. But I want to assure everybody that we took this allegation very, very seriously and investigated very, very thoroughly at the time. We absolutely remain committed to police accountability and creating a culture of accountability. I think that the fact that we've placed people on administrative leave, or in some cases, in off-duty cases this year, have imposed a very significant discipline, shows that we absolutely take these situations very, very seriously. And we will not tolerate criminal misconduct on the part of our police officers. We will hold them accountable. We owe that to the residents of Oakland. We owe it to the hardworking men and women of the OPD that continue to do a good job day in and day out and conduct themselves in an ethical manner with integrity. And I believe that is the overwhelming majority of the OPD, and it is unfortunate that we've had these off-duty incidents that have marred our reputation. I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
Just in closing, we recognize that even the suspicion of misconduct can damage the trust that we have worked so hard to rebuild in this community. And as the chief said, we owe it to our residents to be beyond doubt that this department holds its officers to the highest standards, both on and off duty, and that this city investigate allegations of this seriousness with all integrity and by pulling in appropriate independent resources as a backstop and as an additional layer of accountability and trust building. We know that this department needs to be the trusted guardians of the community, and we cannot do it with this type of cloud over the department. And that's why we will continue to take swift and very thorough actions to hold everyone accountable and also to continue to build a culture that does not tolerate this type of conduct, including off-duty. At this time, I would be happy to take questions.
Chief, can you tell us how these allegations came to light? There have been reports that it was tied to the suicide of the officer.
Yes, in investigating the second suicide, there were allegations that came out of that led to that investigation. So for specifics about either of the 2 suicide investigations, I brought Lieutenant Holmgren, the commander of the homicide section here, who can speak to that. And additionally, we'll be given a handout that has some specific information related to either of the suicides. I think we have the handout. And additionally, being that they are both closed investigations, there is information available via public records request on those 2 cases.
So based on that, does that mean that then that information came about last year? The suicides were in 2015 and 2014. Has your department been investigating this then for a year now, but for whatever reason the media is hearing about it now?
We have had an investigation going since the second suicide, yes.
And how long have the officers been on administrative leave?
I don't have the exact dates, but recently.
Was it Monday?
They weren't all placed on leave the same day. So over the last month or so, they've been placed on leave.
Is it true those 3 officers?
Hold on. Yes, and then Henry.
Is it true those 3 officers were questioned after Officer O'Brien's suicide by Internal Affairs in 2015? And then they came forward this year to say they had made misstatements to Internal Affairs before?
We can't comment on the allegation into the misconduct of police officers that are on administrative leave is ongoing. I cannot comment to specifics of that at this time.
But in general, we can say that we have no tolerance for criminal misconduct, we have no tolerance for lying, and we have no tolerance for any type of support of this type of misconduct. No tolerance for tolerance, if that makes sense. Henry.
Chief, can you talk about the concern raised by Judge Henderson about alleged irregularities and possible violations of the NSA, as far as the internal employees?
So I'll just address that. It is true that since March, we have also had as an additional layer of accountability, the compliance director involved with this investigation.
I'm sorry, Mayor, can you clarify, has the compliance director been involved in the investigation of both the sexual misconduct, the alleged sexual misconduct, and the suicides?
The case number is stated in the court order.
Mayor, just to follow up on what you said about the DA's independent investigation, you said you want to make sure no former OPD people were involved. That's in the DA's investigations?
That is correct. There are several former Oakland police employees that now work in the district attorney's office. The district attorney, to ensure the integrity of her investigation, is making sure that her investigative team does not contain any former OPD employees. Darwin.
What's the IA case number for Officer O'Brien's death or for Roberto Lopez?
I apologize, I don't have that on hand. We can get that to you.
Were there individual IA cases for both those deaths? Okay.
Again, I apologize. I can get that information for you.
Are there other officers, Chief, that your department is looking at that could be implicated in these allegations?
The investigation is ongoing.
And can anyone here speak to the potential for officers outside of Oakland? Are you communicating with other police departments?
I cannot.
Is it safe to say that the 2 suicide cases are closed? Those are closed. What we're talking about now is the alleged sexual misconduct by officers involved, possibly an underage, a minor. That's what we're talking about now?
Yes.
Are the 2 cases closed, the suicide cases?
They are.
Yes.
Is there anything you can say about?
But here I can say that the district attorney will be conducting a review of the suicide investigations to give an additional layer of assurance and independent review to make sure that the actual investigations were conducted with professionalism and thoroughness.
I'm sorry, Mayor, on here it says that both Officer O'Brien and Ms. Lopez tested positive for gunshot residue on their hands. Can you explain that comment a little bit further?
Can we take just a moment and maybe introduce Lieutenant Holmgren?
Sure.
I know a couple of folks arrived late. If you missed anything, you mind, if you missed anything, we're periscoping the slides, so you can go back and start at the very beginning.
So that's, to answer your question, that's correct. Both Ms. Lopez and Officer Bryan tested positive for gunshot residue. It's not uncommon when an officer or somebody has normal everyday handling or is routinely handling firearms. When we submitted the gunshot residue test to outside laboratories, we were informed that one of the persons that the sample was from an officer. We were warned that the potential positive hit would most likely come back.
Were phone records checked in the course of that investigation? Or Roberto Lopez's phone and Officer O'Brien's phone?
Yes.
Can you say anything about the?
Hold on. I can take people who raise their hand.
Quick question, yeah, just to clarify, so the DA's office is gonna be looking at both suicides as well as the sexual misconduct allegations?
That is correct, and they're going to be looking at both. They're going to be conducting a parallel and independent investigation, as well as reviewing the investigative work that the police department has done to date. Someone else had their hand up. Yes.
Regarding your executive order the executive director that you issued today, that's for the police department to report any kind of misconduct on or off duty, correct?
That is correct. Normally what would happen with a criminal case is the Oakland Police Department would conduct an investigation, and then when the case was ready to be charged, bring that case file to the district attorney. Under this executive directive, the DA will be notified at the onset at the beginning of the investigatory process so that they can make the determination about whether or not to conduct an independent review themselves.
When did the DA's office start this investigation? Was that recent, or was it?
This investigation is something that I requested yesterday, and the DA has begun the process just now, as of today.
Can you speak at all about the victim in all of this? And it's been reported, there's been some question about whether or not she was underage at the time. Can you speak to that? And also that she is the daughter of a dispatcher that was working with the department.
I'm not going to speak to that today. There is some information in the written report that we've given you. Anything else? All right, Cheryl, the last word.
Last word. The federal oversight that's been hanging over Oakland for all of these years, how is this, these allegations going to hurt that situation? I mean, are you almost out of it? I mean, is this going to be a big setback?
This type of officer conduct not only does not do justice to the citizens of Oakland who rely on officers to not just enforce the law, but to uphold it themselves. But it also does an injustice to the department that has made tremendous improvements, tremendous progress that has been recognized nationally in principled policing. And so it is truly tragic that this type of conduct is happening at this moment in time when this department, granted, has much more work to do, but has made so much progress, has worked so hard to rebuild community trust. And that is very disturbing to all of us up here. I think with that, do you want to?
No, we're good.
All right, that will be all. Thank you.